Hello, happy 4th of July to all the American people. I hope you are enjoying the celebration of the American independence. And I will take this opportunity. I think it's a very good opportunity to talk about the USA Pluto return, which would be the fourth chapter in my series of USA Pluto return. So this time, let me share the screen with you, and I will talk about the Pluto opposing Mercury that has happened since last year. So this will be divided in two parts, part A and part B. This is Pluto USA Pluto return part 4, and there will be two parts because it was too long to put it one altogether. So here is my contact information in case you would like to follow me. I am almost every day on social media, and I also write a blog that you may be interested in reading. And if you like reading with me, you're welcome to email me. And let's get started. So this is the Pluto return dates. It's going to be exact next year. But right now, I will talk about the Pluto opposing Mercury. So this started last year, February 28, 2020, and it happened again because Pluto went retrograde in June 26, 2020, and again Pluto direct on January 1st, 2021. And it will happen again very close by 7 minutes of orb on October 1st, 2021. So we can consider just more than a year and a half of Pluto impacting the natal USA Mercury in Cancer. So Mercury in Cancer can give the mind of a nation focus on patriotism, caring for people who are defenseless, weak, and vulnerable. And we see that in most people in the country. Anytime there is a catastrophe or something, people go and help, right? It's also a nation that gives priority in their daily thoughts and activity to family matters, emotional security. But because Mercury is fickle by nature, sometimes dual, and there is this duality in the mind of the people, especially during crises, which is the Cancer 8th house, right? That is overpopulated with that stellium, with Venus, Jupiter, the sun. So the moon in Aquarius ruled Mercury in Cancer. So it is pretty much about the public opinion in the country, right? And the way this contributes to the transformations, 8th house. The country's public opinion is fluctuating as much as the moon changes phases. However, it is progressive, likes innovation and a focus on the future and technological advances. So people like technology and science and development and progress. So Pluto started his work in February last year, decomposing the nation's perception and conceptualization of reality. The crisis triggered by the microscopic organism, right, exposed all the long-held ways of thinking. People started contesting the traditional core values, the real ones. Pluto brought to light the misconceptualization, biases, incorrect judgments, attachments to ideas that are no longer valid. Pluto requires that people face the shadows of the mind, Mercury, right? Confront self-deception, reveals deceptive ideas and communications. We've seen journalism diving deeply, investigating and bringing to light the most unwanted truths. So Pluto in Capricorn is decomposing and revitalizing the national values. You know, Capricorn is the second house in the chart, and it's all about values. Not only the treasury, the money, the financial system, the banking, but also moral and in emotional values, right? This is a country of hard workers with great ambition, and this ambition to even conquer the whole world, right? That has been going on for a couple of centuries and has always thrived to expand following its Sagittarius ascendant. So, but often stepping on other countries' toes. If you carefully read the Declaration of Independence, the founding fathers never doubted the right to invade and steal the property of the natives, because they considered them, the Indians, so inferior that they even called them savages. So this may be an offensive value idea for a present day citizen, but this is actually what happened. The settlers literally invaded and stole a land that belonged to the Native Americans, as much as other colonizers did in the rest of the continent, right? For the European invaders, it was okay to use their power and cruelty oftentimes over those that had been perceived as weaker or less human. So that was the custom in the, let's say, 14th century, 17th century, 18th century. But nowadays, those principles and values are not valid anymore, right? The same text, the Declaration of Independence, says that all men are created equal, but the definition of what a man is restricted to white people, and women were not even considered as people. Nowhere in the text do they write about them being counted for anything. Black people were defined in the Constitution as 3/5 of the person. And that concept justified slavery and the later Jim Crow law. So in addition, certain other colored people like yellow or brown or brownish or whatever were also of a lesser category. It's been a country that favored privileges for the white in detriment of all others, right? And as I said, expanding and acquiring power over other countries. So, and then people wonder, why does the world hate us, right? Well, Pluto made Mercury's voice loud and clear to put all those so-called principles in your face. People needed to look in the face at the modern tragedy Black people are experiencing to have a mental reaction, realize that this is not right. George Floyd's murder was Pluto catalyst of transformation. And as usual, what happens in the USA impacts the whole world. Not in vain does the USA chart has Sagittarius ascendant. So this movement sent waves across the planet, awakening all those who have suffered discrimination. So Pluto shook people out of the misconceptions, out of the American dream, or best yet, out of the American nightmare, bringing the shadows out the darkest corners of the public mind. The nation's public opinion has been pressured to the maximum to bring out the toxic, corrupted, obsolete way of thinking. Over a year and a half, many so-called principles have been under scrutiny, be it racism, discrimination of all kinds, Jim Crow law, Puritanism regarding sex, misogyny, hatred, ideas about people. Pluto has completely overhauled people's relationships to values, physical values like money, but emotional and moral values as well. So there's been a review of family values, the value of life confronted to the reality of death, the value of social needs. So Pluto works on the underground dealings as well. And Mercury revealed many of those. For example, the use of secret information to manipulate people, withhold of crucial information to the advantage of the privileged. We saw at the beginning of the pandemic, the president saying that Americans didn't risk much with the virus, that we shouldn't care much about it, and because it was just a regular flu. But we found out that at the time when he made those declarations, he knew for a fact that it was a very dangerous virus. So, and he withhold that information in order to benefit the big people, those friends of his and himself. So Pluto has operated a mental detoxification, demanding purification, cleansing, and revision of the public opinion. People were forced to face the real values, accept and digest its reality, and faced by very uncomfortable truths. Many denied racism, denied that there were any corruption, and many people still don't want to accept that cruelty has taken place in many levels. But journalism has been digging out issues after issues after issues. The public was made aware of, for example, children disappearing under the custody of the government, children imprisoned in cages, isolated from their families, for no reason, right? Many revelations have been merciless and despicable at the same time, to say the least. In the month of June 2020, a group of Black Lives Matters peaceful protesters were assaulted by the very public officers that should have protected people's security and safety. Then the same public servants denied the truth of the repression and the assault that they had performed on those people. Well, now it's been proven, and well, there were many changes, right? But a Pluto return had to start with changing the mind of people. So now I would like to show also, share the screen now. This is the chart of the Pluto opposing Mercury on January 1st, as I mentioned, for the third time. That was the third hit. And I'm gonna change also now with the presentation, because I want to explain that Mercury rules the seventh house of the chart in the US chart. And the seventh house is about public enemies to the nation, outlaws and fugitives who are not imprisoned. Is also the house where whether war or peace may be expected. Remember, the first and seventh house is the axis of Aries and Libra, meaning Mars and Venus, and the need to find balance between war and peace, right? So it's the seventh house is the house of treaties and agreements with other nations in order to keep the peace. International warfare as well, and relationships with partners or allies, treaty negotiations. So this change of Mercury under the influence, let's say, of Pluto has also transformed the seventh house, right? And as well as the eighth house where Mercury is located, right? Because it has been on top of Venus, Jupiter, the Sun also in previous years, starting in 2008. But it also, Mercury has also impacted the 10th house. No, this is not the slide that I wanted. I want the 10th house, which is this one. So Mercury rules the 10th house. And for the audience, I would like to explain that I use whole sign houses for the countries because since ancient times, this is the house system that has been used for kingdoms and empires, right? And it's always worked perfectly well. And I think that it works perfectly well on this chart as well. So Mercury ruling the 10th house has been transforming the authorities over the nation, governments, the head of state, the police or armed forces when they assert authority over the citizens, the national reputation and prestige, credit, power, national trade, and influence, and the general image that the general public image that the nation shows to the world. So this has been crucial, as I said, because Mercury rules two houses, Gemini and Virgo. And obviously it has also impacted the health of the nation, right? It's not surprised that during the pandemic, Pluto was opposing Mercury because obviously the pandemic affected the health of the nation, and Virgo is the sign of taking care of the health. There were other transits that I would like to mention, and for that I will share again the chart. So here in the chart you see that this was in January, but Neptune this year has made the opposition to natal Neptune, and in the axis of health and healing and Virgo, Pisces, but also in the axis of the 10th house and 4th house, which is government institutions up here, the head of state, and the people. Now, 4th house is the people in the land, the country, and even the opposition to the government in power. So this also is the opposition to the government. So we see this opposition has been instrumental as well. We had also this year, if we advance it to the month of June, let's say, by month, Mars, and this should be June, May 31st, anyways. So we see that Jupiter has transited the moon, and the moon rules Cancer, which is the 8th house of transformations and upheavals, right? And is also the house of Mercury and all the stellium. So, and Jupiter will go back retrograde over the moon again 2 times, retrograde and then direct. So this is another transit important to consider. Another transit is Saturn that has been transiting the south node of the moon. So the letting go of structures and restrictions that are no longer valid, for example. So especially ruling the second house. So we can expect, let's say, we're now seeing inflation, devaluation of the power, the economic power, and this is because of Saturn transiting the south node as well as other things. But if you remember, Saturn transits a point in any chart every 29 years. And if you calculate 29 years from this year, it's been, I think it was 2001. So you can see 2001 or 2002. So you can see what was happening then correlated to Saturn transiting the south node. And it was about transportation, short distance travel, and all kinds of regulations on those, even in communications as well. Aquarius in the 3rd house. And there was also economic problems. So we can expect something of the same subject or matter. Then we are also working on the Chiron return, because Chiron went to up to 13, I think, and it's retrograde. But next year, the USA will also have the Chiron return. So on top of the Pluto return, it will have the Chiron return. And a few years down the road, we will have the Uranus return as well. And of course, Mercury is right now, next month, is going to transit is going to be the Mercury return as well. So that is not that crucial, because it only happens every 88 days. But it's still another cycle that we are experiencing. So I wanted to mention that because this is a pre-Pluto return, right? And in the second part of this video, that I will do a separate video, so I don't want it to be too long for you. So in the second part, I will talk about the major transits and the eclipses that happen in the second semester of 2021, starting in July through December. So I hope you are for it. And as I said, thank you for watching. As I said, I enjoy sharing this knowledge with you, so you can be prepared or look forward to it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next. Goodbye.